Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the SCSL Season 4. We're here for Match 8 of the round of 16, the final match in this round. Bishop versus Sacsri. We've been waiting for this one. Bishop, the only random player here, and one of the very few top players in Korea who's got the kahunas to play random in a big tournament.
Yeah, this is going to be super exciting, Sam. Hopefully this will be a little bit closer than some of these other series. They have been more or less clean sweeps, 3-1s or 3-0s across the board, with everyone that we expected to win won. And we did expect Bishop to win here today to go on to face against Rush in that round of 8. We'll have to wait and see if that also comes to pass. Sacsri is a very strong macro Zerg, but playing against random can be a little bit tricky.
Tell me a little bit more about random here, because I need to do a bit of an overlay check here.
Okay. Yeah, so the issues with playing against random, unless you're Terran, with Terran you can go bunker expand every game and have a cookie cutter build that works against all three matchups. Here, not so much the case for Sacsri with that Zerg pick. He can go for something like a 12 pool, but that's not going to be super optimal against Protoss, for example. He can play 9 pool and overpool. That's also reasonable against all three races, but again, there's no optimal build that just is a cookie cutter, works against everything type situation. So Sacsri will have to be a little bit creative and maybe doing some earlier scouting times, trying to identify exactly what the race is going to be that he's up against. And either way, even by the time he does scout Bishop, it's going to be a little bit too late to fully optimize against that.
That's excellent. Thank you. Looking over at the maps now. We've got our first pick coming out of Bishop. It's Dominator. Then it's going over to Sacsri for Metropolis. Deja Vu, once again, Bishop. Polestar, the final pick from Sacsri. If we get all the way through all that, Death Valley will be our final map. That would be so cool if we could finally get a map 5 in the round of 16, because we've been denied that for quite a long time, Xun.
Yeah, no, we have been. I mean, luckily I've been casting a bit of the BSL and I've had it a few times there. So I've been, getting my fix through exterior means, saying, I know you've not been able to do too much BSL casting because of the time zone differences, but that might change now that you're having a little trip to Canada. So I hope you can maybe join me on a couple of casts there. But yeah, this is going to be a wild series between these two individuals. Almost no matter what happens, I think fireworks will fly. We do predict Bishop to take this series down, but I'm also happy to be wrong and Sacsri go absolutely crazy here and show us some great games.
That would be the first upset of the series, guys. We're jumping into game number 1 now. Let's go. Bishop versus Sacsri. Get it started.
선수입니다. 터미네이터고요. 저저전이 성립이 됐어요.
All right, everything is set. Sacsri spawning in the center right, and Bishop gets Zerg. ZVZ to start things off.
Ooh, and Sacsri scouting in the wrong direction, unfortunately. That's a nice little tempo swing going Bishop's way. And this is the problem, right? Like, I mean, if he does go for something like a 12 pool, he's going to be reasonably safe against this Zerg pick from Bishop. But, it's not always comfortable, because then he might be thinking to himself, what if he gets Protoss? So we might be seeing something like a 9 pool, an overpool, or a 12 hatchery. These are very likely candidates from Sacsri to try and hedge his bets as much as possible without taking too much of a deficit. But if he does go for something like a 12 hatch, and Bishop just 9 pool speeds, knowing that it's Zerg, might just run Sacsri over. And there is that 9 pool from Sacsri. I was expecting something like a 9 pool, an overpool, or a hatchery first, because 12 pool just not as strong of a contender against random.
That's for sure. This is one of the matchups I hate the most when I'm playing Zerg versus random, is getting that Zerg ZVZ matchup. You're very tempted to scout to figure out what your opponent has got, what race they've picked, or what race they've randomly been assigned, and so sending that out early, it just slows down your build that tiny bit more. Against Protoss or Terran, you can kind of make up for it, and it's not that big of a deal, but the Zerg builds are so tight, so crisp, you really have to eke out that build as quickly as possible. Look at this. Bishop's gone for an 11 hatcheries, getting a 10 pool, and we're going to have a bunch of lings coming here in a moment from Sacsri, but no gas, very importantly. So I'm not sure he can actually get the damage he's looking for.
Yeah, this is really smart from Bishop. Like, he understands that Sacsri is most likely going to 9-pull, but not necessarily with speed. So it's a little bit harder to punish a hatchery first play. He does have these 6 lings to put on some pressure initially, but without that speed follow-up, it's not really as easy as you would think to punish Bishop here.
Wait, Bishop made drones.
Oh,
Bishop made
okay,
3 drones.
Okay,
yeah,
that's a little bit of a problem.
when you ZVZ, I mean, you never go 11 hatch and then make drones. You always save larva to make lings. And so Sacsri could still get a lot of damage here. It's just a bit of a mistake from Bishop.
I think the hatchery, even if he does save this hatchery, it'll be extremely low. I think this hatchery is going to go down to like 200 or so HP. He's actually going to pull 6 drones to try and counteract this. He's got a pair of lings finishing the natural and 4 lings in the main. Can the drone drill be sufficient enough to stop this? 1 drone goes down, 2 drones go down already. Nice picks for Sacsri. If he gets a 3rd drone, he does. That's already pretty sizable damage. And a 4th drone, 5th drone to boot. He's not going to kill the hatchery necessarily, but he's already siphoned up a lot of the economy potential of Bishop. Definitely a mistake, like you say, not pulling as many lings as necessary. Kind of a bit of a deficit now that he finds himself in. Despite having the 2 hatchery production, Sacsri's going to catch up himself. He's got the natural hatchery just now finished. So yeah, this is a problem for Bishop.
This is a massive issue for Bishop. He, I don't believe, was able to mine enough gas to get speed. And he's stuck here just making lings, because Sacsri can make his own lings. He's got more drones. You could try to sneak a couple of... Wait, is he sending... Are we going to go for a... Oh, he's going to go for a sunken. He's going to try and sunken him here. This is crazy. Bishop has nothing behind this. He's going to be able to just barely eke out it looks like he extractor tricked as well to get 1 more set of lings. He's trying to all in here. Let's see if this goes the way he's hoping, because if Sacsri continuously... Oh, he did get speed. Oh my gosh. He just barely got that speed out. So this is actually pretty big. Sacsri going to go to the low ground, and he's going to make a sunken on the high ground. This is crazy what we're seeing right now, Xun. I don't think this is going to work too well, but you know what? He cannot just sit here in an arc at the bottom of the ramp with that sunken colony at the top. He's going to be able to hit these lings on the bottom of the ramp.
Yeah, it's going to guarantee him getting the lings into the main base of Sacsri. He can't just block the ramp like you say anymore. Going to try and make another pair of 6 slings in the natural expansion area. Bishop will deal with that though. Basically, he's going to come down to whether or not he can maybe break the sunken on the high ground. He's going to attempt to do it now. Just needs to pick this sunken off and then retreat to the low ground. Maybe do a run by with some links, but he's going to allow Bishop to come into his main regardless. Spire is on the way, but nowhere near finished. Has a single sunken to drone drill onto. He's hoping that these counter-attacking lings can distract enough of the rallied links of Bishop, who's hiding 2 drones out on the map. He's going to try and do a checkmate move so he can kill the hatchery and the lava that will produce the mutalisks ahead of time before they become an aerial threat and won't even need to make spores.
Yeah, there's no way to move the larva here for Sacsri. So in some cases you can move the larva to the left-hand side and it gets it out of the way of the sunken. Here he can't do that. So if he sets up these sunkens on the left-hand side and is able to target down the eggs, then he can just... Oh my gosh, no way. Oh my gosh, this sunken colony can hit these. That's crazy. So it's a perfectly placed sunken colony for Sacsri. I think this is going to be enough. This actually wins him the game.
I think he has one of the drones as well. That's a pretty big deal. He's now going to have to fully commit to trying to break these Zerglings and the sunken colony. I don't think there's enough there. I think with some good drone drilling, Sacsri's going to be okay. And this is a crazy start to this series. Sacsri probably feeling delighted that the game has transpired in this fashion. I mean, this is some nice ideas from Bishop. He's been, you know, quite calculated and had some finesse, but it's not good enough with this sunken colony being placed towards the bottom next to the pool rather than more towards the top adjacent to the geyser. So yeah, really well calculated from both players, but Sacsri getting the better end of that game number 1.
That was some good heads up thinking from Bishop to try and find a way to maybe win that game. Like bringing the drones is some pretty wild play. You don't often see that, but you know, going for those 2 extra that would have worked had there been a little bit more distance between the sunken colony and the edge of the creep there. Let's say that Sacsri built his sunken colony like 1 hex higher, kind of tucked into the corner right next to the gas. He actually could have pulled that off, but Sacsri built that without even knowing that this was the plan from Bishop. It's just such a nicely placed sunken colony, nearly right dead center of the creep, and he's not able to get away with it. Bishop has to tap out, and we're going to jump into game number 2. What is he going to get next, guys? Let's find out.
이에 맞서는 이훈 선수입니다.
Sacsri, Zerg in the bottom left, Ro.16 Bishop in the top right. Now, guys, Bishop is a Terran player when he plays in normal tournaments, like when he's played previously in tournaments. So he's a Terran player switching over to random, and getting this matchup, I mean, this is probably, aside from ZVZ, this is probably his worst matchup. What do you think, Xun? What's the harder matchup?
Second worst. I would say maybe ZVZ would be his worst, and this would be his second worst overall. I don't know for sure, but that would be my reckoning. While we're talking about Terran players briefly, I would like to point out that I'm super excited that Nada, of all people, has been practicing again, playing on the ladder, and already at a pretty healthy MMR ranking of about 2350 when I last checked. So that's crazy. He's already playing at an almost pro level. That's about when the time you start hitting pros on the ladder. They smurf at around that elo. And he looks like he wants to compete again, which is going to be crazy. If we even just see him in the group stages of the ASL or what have you, I'm going to be doing mental backflips. He's one of my favorite players of all time. Not even just favorite Terran player, just favorite player of all time. That guy is an outstanding genius of epic proportions. Someone that doesn't even need to practice much to perform at the highest level.
A Rain figure, Rain-esque figure from the sound of it. It's been such a long time since I've watched Nada, guys. It's crazy that we're seeing these super old school players making their way back into Broodwar, but it's awesome. Yeah. And we are all here for it. It looks like he's going to spot now the probe making its way into the natural, so he knows at this point Protoss is his opponent, and he's done a pretty reasonable build to get into a normal game after the fact. He's opened up, what is this, 11 hatchery, something like that? Pretty difficult to go 12 hatchery versus random because you can, again, just get smashed by the Zerg.
Yeah, no, I think it's safer to go for 11 hatch. I mean, you're taking a teeny tiny hit to your economy by doing so, but it does line you up a lot better against these earlier timings, especially this kind of gateway pressure. Although it was cross map here on Metropolis, so not the closest of rush distances for Sacsri to be exploited by. Is going to go throw down this hatchery quickly at the 6 o'clock. I mean, we'll have to wait and see how good Bishop's PVZ is. I would say this is probably his second worst matchup out of all of them. I could be wrong about that. We'll have to see.
Seemed like last game, Bishop was blindly thinking that this is what Sacsri would do. That Sacsri would go for an 11 hatch. That's why he opened 11 hatch and made drones, thinking that, you know, the lings would be coming and he'd have enough lings in time for himself. But it's such a big risk. I'm glad to see he's going to be, you know, shoring up his play here, pulling back the Zealots, realizing, you know, I probably can't get damaged. Let me just be really safe here, and we'll get into a nice PVZ where he can show off what he's learned and what kind of builds he's been practicing in this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, he's gone for gateway first, so it does kind of indicate that he's somewhat confident in navigating those earlier decision trees. I mean, Forge expansion is just a simpler way to go about it and less variations to worry about and what have you. So he must have done his studying to want to go for a gateway first play, especially against someone like Sacsri. So it does seem to indicate that he's done his homework and will be able to perform at a pretty reasonable level against his opponent here. He's going for a fast core in the natural with the Forge being made belatedly in the main base. If this was close spawns, maybe Sacsri could have flooded Lings to try and punish this, but as it stands, he's going to go for a 9-7-3. It's a little bit late though. This den is quite late in terms of when he placed that down. It was about 40 seconds behind the usual optimal timing. So maybe won't be able to necessarily kill Bishop with this, but just wants to put on pressure and pick away at that wall.
For my part, I feel like if Bishop feels confident, it's more about his confidence with the timing here. I doubt that he's going to be feeling happy if this game goes long and Sacsri's able to get into Hive and 4 or 5 bases. It's going to get really difficult to handle. Even the best Protoss players in the world are going to have a hard time with Sacsri at that point. So yeah, I'm imagining there's going to be some sort of big timing coming here from Bishop. Ling's speed is going to clear out that probe pretty darn early. And look at this, there's the Citadel right afterwards, and we're probably going to see like a 4-gate Zealot, something like that, coming here out of Bishop. It's not completely all in, but you're really optimizing here for a massive timing. If it doesn't get damage, yeah, you could be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, it's not as like crazy as something like a mini base build with an earlier second gateway, but it kind of is that same vein of thinking of just skipping over the Stargate entirely, getting the leg enhancements as quickly as possible with a very fast +1 timing, and trying to put a lot of pressure to the Zerg with a very clean timing attack. We'll have to wait and see if Sacsri's 973 will apply the necessary pressure to slow this down. I'm not so sure it'll be too successful. I mean, Bishop's, throwing down some additional cannons now. Those leg enhancements will take a little bit longer to finish, but it's actually quite close to being done already. So I don't think this pressure from Sacsri will be crisply timed enough to really do too much to Bishop. And he didn't kill that many Zealots early on. And if you're going for something like a 973, you're kind of hoping to clear out a couple of those Zealots early game to make something like this actually get a lot of value.
Now, I like this for Bishop a lot. This is kind of a blind counter here, what we're seeing. 4-gate into 973. You're going to have a ton of Zealots to kind of block for the cannons, and then the Zealot speed will finish, and you'll have so many of those ground lots to just shove back these Hydras. There's not really a nice timing for Sacsri to try and sneak out some drones, right? He's just gonna start to kill this wall, then the Zealots are gonna come out with their speed, and now you just have to keep making Hydras. You can't really do anything else here as Sacsri because there's gonna be so much pressure coming your way. You don't have the tech to try and build mutas and just counter these completely. You have to keep making Hydras, and so when are you gonna squeeze these drones out? Bishop making even more of those gateways now and spilling across this map, looking for surrounds on these early Hydras.
Ooh, he's catching a couple of them as well. This is great for Bishop already. He has got a sunken at both of these locations to try and Sim City and defend. He might want to make a second sunken. Yeah, he's got a second sunken at the 3rd base, which is kind of the point of weakness right now. Bishop rotating down into that to try and get us around on top of that sunken. Will need to drone drill to his heart's content. The second sunken already being targeted down before it's finished. That might fall as soon as it morphs in, and it does do so. Bishop killing both of these sunkens and locking out Sacsri from getting into the 3rd base. This is great timing play from Bishop, who's now got the Zerg in a bit of disarray, targeting down the Evo chamber, putting a clock onto that, forcing Sacsri to have to come up to the ramp and start trading. More drones have fallen. He should be able to kill this Evo chamber. That's the +1 weapons down the drain for Sacsri to get an advantage in the mid game as well. Such a well executed timing attack from our random player.
You talk about it like it's hard, Xun. This is the easiest build to do. It's so noob friendly, honestly. If you're playing at C rank, E rank, whatever you're playing at, D rank, and you just want to get some nice wins against Zergs that are annoying you in the late game, just hit this build, copy this build, and you'll be able to run over quite a few Zerg players. It's also great against Hydra Bust, as we've seen. It takes a lot of skill to be able to get the tech out in time to deal with something like this.
And look at this follow-up. It's 7-gate Goon as a follow-up to really put the pressure and start to stomp out Sacsri. He's got still a strong contingency of speed lots to lead the charge, but now with a crazy amount of Dragoons in support, we'll start to lay siege to the Zerg Zerg as well. Range is just about now finished. He will start to apply a lot of pressure to Sacsri. He will be able to snipe that Sunken Colony over the Sim City with the help of the ranged Dragoons. Sacsri in a lot of trouble, has to try and collapse on top of this army with some Hydras from the third base. He's got quite a lot of Hydras joining the fray. Will force Bishop to start to back up a little bit. Bishop needs to be careful not to overextend. He needs to find a critical mass of Dragoons to start bullying Sacsri. He's only just barely got enough Dragoons to keep the fight going. He ran into the main base with a few of those Zealots to draw the attention of the Zerg, trying to target down that Spire. Not quite going to find a kill on that, but he can buy a lot of valuable time, forcing those Hydras to chase those Zealots around while starting to kill this Evo in the natural.
Yeah, I mean, the run up into the main is pretty standard stuff, just going for the tech and forcing the Hydras back. Where's the opportunity for Sacsri to drone? Like, when has he ever had a chance to drone? Since he started the Hydralisk attack. He's just never had an option to do so because of the build. This is about as clean of a counter as you can possibly do, and Bishop's done a great job of utilizing his units here and hitting his build after the fact. GG is called. You know, Bishop never even got a second gas. Never even built a second gas. He just made units this entire time, and he stomps out Sacsri just like that.
I mean, it's really impressive, honestly. I know you say it's a noob-friendly build and all, but doing it to someone of Sacsri's caliber is another thing entirely. Really impressive from Bishop to show that even these matchups we assumed maybe a little bit on his weaker side, he still has a few pocket builds that he can pull out to execute some pretty efficient wins regardless of potential, matchup deficits. I don't even know what to expect from the rest of the series. It looks like Bishop now, with the momentum of that last win, might be able to go the distance and take Sacsri down, but anything could happen.
For sure, anything can happen. Guys, strap in. Game number 3 is about to begin. Here it is, Terran. Bishop gets his main race. And it's awesome. I mean, all 3 races back to back. That's awesome. I mean, what are the chances, right? Zerg, Protoss, Terran.
Yeah. For in terms of being spectators and casters, I'm sure you guys are elated just as much as we are. We're getting a collection. It's almost like a platter, if you will, so you can get a few appetizers and experience the entire palette and food range available to us within this StarCraft cuisine. And unfortunately for Sacsri, not only is he against Bishop's main race, but he doesn't know about it, or at least for a little bit of time, so he might not be super optimal in how he opens against Bishop here.
Yeah, it can kind of backfire. Like, if you go for a 9 pool here as Sacsri, I think that's what he's done as well.
Yeah.
And Bishop's building a wall at the top of his ramp, man. Oh boy. Oh no. Okay, he does cancel at least. He doesn't go 9 pool speed at the very bare minimum, but it's gonna be hard here, man. It's gonna be real hard for him to do anything to this walled in Terran player on the high ground, and then he's gonna be a little bit behind in terms of his macro. Let's see if he can decipher what's coming from Bishop and counter it appropriately, because there's going to be some wildness for sure. Some sort of 1-1-1 2-star gate, maybe a vulture drop, maybe vulture speed run by. There's a ton of different things that Terran players can do from this spot, and you got to figure out which one it is.
Exactly. I mean, it could technically just be a mech-based play, but I think it's more likely going to be something a lot more teched out, like you say. I think the vulture drop or 2-port Wraith are the most 2 likely of candidates here for him to go to. I mean, fortunate for Sacsri, he's going to be scouting him first with this Overlord. So that's a big read for Sacsri right off the bat. Seeing that it's Terran, seeing that it's going to be this wall in, does help him optimize from this point onwards. We see the factory being laid down now, just as Bishop starts to complete his wall, even before starting a Marine. Thankfully, that barracks is aligned to, Marines pop out on the inside of his base and make things super optimal for going for a play like this. He probably did it especially for that reason. If, say, Bishop was in the top right, this would not necessarily be his build order of choice.
Yeah, I think this is based on, for sure, his spawn position. Has informed this build quite heavily. Gonna bring a couple of SCVs down here. Nothing he can do except for force a little bit of repair
빠지고
out of Bishop. And
어찌할
yeah, it's nice to scout right off the bat, but the sad thing is he already made the lings, and so he just can't alter his build here to really make it any more efficient against what Bishop has done. Is there going to be 2 starports? He is making
so.
have 3 on gas. He does have 3 on gas still. So, what? Second factory. Oh boy.
I didn't expect this. This is the one thing I considered that, you know, just straight up mech opening could be potential, but I actually thought this was one of the least likely things it could be. But it seems like Bishop wants to go for this because it's less likely, and it might throw off Sacsri. He won't necessarily be expecting this. He will be expecting something like a 2-port Wraith or a Vulture run by or a Vulture drop or what have you, and this might throw Sacsri off a lot. This could just be a crazy tank push or something. Who knows what Bishop's got planned for Sacsri here. Sunken just barely finishes in the nick of time to get 2 tentacle connections on that Vulture, but it does still adequately deny some mining in that natural, which is a bit annoying for Sacsri.
For sure, that's very annoying. And you know, Bishop here, he's just gonna maybe hit some larva, can hit the egg too. Like, you can quite kill that egg, but you can do some damage.
No.
You can kill off the larva if he doesn't make the egg fast enough. You can easily kill the larva, and larva is super important to the Zerg player at this early stage. This is why he got this very fast 3rd hatchery, and he's not able to make use out of all this larva, then it's quite a shame for the Zerg player. Double add-on tank.
It is what I thought it was with the tank push, man. I mean, this is gonna be crazy. He knows that Sacsri will be hedging his bets against the 2-port Wraith and the Vulture drop, so it makes sense to delay your lair and just get a Hydra Den to, you know, have like pretty much the tools necessary to destroy that. But you know what it's not good against? Tanks trying to bust in your front this early on. I think Sacsri's in trouble.
Oh yeah, Sacsri, I mean, this is not something you see every day, and this is some really intelligent stuff from Bishop. He's gonna spot it coming across the map, but there's not a whole lot you can do here. You gotta get out on the map and try to get a sniper to, like Dragoons trying to kind of block here, but he's actually just sitting in the natural. I think that's the worst possible thing you can do. You have to flank this, you gotta get on top of it as it's crossing the map. Something, it's some sort of damage onto it, because as soon as it's sieged up right in front of your natural, there's almost nothing you can do at all. And he is going to come running out here with the Hydra speed. Can he get a snipe on one of these tanks? It's so important he gets something here. Can he actually get this tank? It's so low. He's going to get the tank in the front.
Oh my gosh, maybe Sacsri's done it. He's got 2 tank kills in total, not the 3rd. Does lose the entirety of his Hydra force. I hope he's got another massive round of Hydras about to pop out. He's going to need them because Bishop's attack is not yet over. He still has at least 1 tank to start laying siege to the Zerg, as well as starting a bunker for these Marines. He might have Vulture's speed upgrade finishing up and not yet mines, so he can't lay down any mines to buffer against these Hydras, but could deal with any mass flood of speedlings as a result. Sacsri going to feel a little bit of pressure to die forward, just try and take out some of the Marines when they get into the bucket. Manages to kill one of them, is starting to chew through a few of those Vultures and now start to target by those tanks, but with 2 SCVs to repair, it's not going to be successful. Another tank will probably join the fray in the next moments or so, with a lot more following behind them. Okay, it's 2 additional tanks that are now on their way. I mean, there's a lot of pressure on Sacsri in trying to hold this. This is going to have to sacrifice this hatchery at least, and you might want to make a second sunken or something to try and sandbag a little bit here and buy some precious time to get some more rounds of Hydras out. Either way, this is a tough hold for Sacsri.
Yeah, I'm not sure about this. I think waiting for the extra bit of, and waiting for these Hydras to come up is a bit of a mistake. He needed to get on top of this a little bit earlier, but he's going to go for it now and immediately gets wiped out. GG Bishop with that little timing attack manages to make it work. Wow.
Really good stuff from Bishop. It's so cerebral as well. He knows that he knows that Sacsri's game theory is, I need to hedge my bets against a 2-port Wraith and the Vulture run by, including a Vulture drop. So it's most likely he's going to skip over lair, or at least delay his lair, which would delay the Spire, and instead try and commit into some Hydra forces early on. He can't afford everything, and fortunately, with Bishop kind of forcing the 9 pull initially out of Sacsri, was able to really make his build order choices as rigid as possible. If he knew he was playing Terran, he could have opened up 12 hatch and he wouldn't have had to skip making lair to make that Hydra Den. He could have still got that lair on the way, still eventually got Spire up, and then would have cleared that out with Mutalisks. But because Bishop knew he would be, having to go for something like an early pull to deal with the random pick, he just could do this little fancy tank push as a result, and there wouldn't be much counterplay from Sacsri. It's such good game theory from Bishop. I can see why he wanted to pick random. He's got that cerebral capability to understand, what's the most optimal play based on what my opponent is thinking.
Really sneaky stuff there as well, bringing the SCV down to pretend to make that natural. It was delayed, I think, by a Ling, and Sacsri thought he's probably going for some sort of 1-1-1 or a 2-port Wraith, something along those lines, and got completely blindsided. Such a difficult thing to react to. Basically your build is completely countered at that point, and he had a pretty decent shot after killing the first couple of tanks, but it's still just so tough to make that work, and Bishop is going to go with some confidence here into game number 4. We're already in game number 4, guys. Bishop in a lead. Let's jump in to this next one, see what Bishop gets next. Terran again. You've got to be kidding me. 2 in a row, baby. This is like Flash playing random in ASL. Just keeps getting Terran over and over again.
I was just thinking that. He can't keep getting away with this. You pick random and you still get your main race. It doesn't feel fair, Saiyan, but it is what it is.
Yeah, that was... it's like as if Flash needed another advantage,
Yeah.
I get my main race. I still get to play Terran, but you don't even know if I'm Terran or one of the other two. Crazy.
Yeah, I know, it really is insane, and it's a big deal when you're not as optimal in dealing with that. Going for something like a 9 pull or what have you to try and be safe against all 3 options. This is the problem Sacsri has right now. There is no cookie cutter answer. Terran is the best race against random for the reason that they can open bunker, expand every single time, and be pretty much aligned against all 3 matchups. Zerg and Protoss don't have that luxury. They can do a build order that's good against 2 of the races, but not all 3 of them. And that's the kind of the issue that they're up against when playing against this random. And it is going to be another wall in from Bishop.
Another teched out play from him, and on this very large map, Sacsri at least gonna go for 12 hatchery. It could still be quite dangerous. Like, let's say this was Zerg and you went for a 9 pull speed. You can't just die, but that's a very small percent possibility, right? The small chance that he gets Zerg and he goes 9 pull speed, not gonna worry about it. Sacsri is just going to go with this, and he will find out pretty quickly that Bishop is Terran with this drone scout, and then he'll be happy. He's got a very nice setup here for a 2-base style.
Absolutely, and something like that tank push would be far less likely to be successful this time around. You will have a little bit more resources available to him to both get the Hydra Den as well as that lair and Spire like we were talking about. So something like that tank push probably won't be the build order of choice here from Bishop once he identifies that Sacsri has this faster hatchery on the way. It'll most likely be something like a Vulture drop or a 2-port Wraith or what have you, or a 1-1-1 play. I don't think we're going to be seeing that tank push again.
Still mining gas. It's looking like a 2-port Wraith, I gotta say. Oh my gosh. Ooh. Okay, I thought the drone was going to come right in, but he does manage to get that back down and push away that drone. SCV scouts the hatchery timing here. Can see exactly what's gone on Sacsri's side of the map. He's going to come over here, try to just delay the mining by a tiny bit, but he knows Sacsri is in a very good spot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm curious. Okay, it is that second starport that just went down. He could either do 2-port Wraith or 1-1-1 here. And it does seem like 2-port Wraith is the build order of choice, which is the most likely, given how much gas he's got banked up. He's either going to do that tank push if there was a 9-pull opening, or this 2-port Wraith if there was a 12 hatch. So he's kind of got two variations planned out with this one-base tech play. It's interesting, even though he's playing Terran as his main race still. I mean, he's liking these more teched out micro-heavy openings rather than just trying to play a late game against Sacsri. Maybe understanding that Sacsri is a macro player, and sometimes the best things to do against these guys that like to go into the late game is just never allow them to do so.
For sure. Tried to Bishop did try to block that sunken colony there a little bit, but with the cross map, it's super hard to delay this long enough to get past, and indeed that sunken colony is done. He catches the lings that are trying to sneak out. Sacsri, he would love to get a ling over to Bishop's natural, and if he's getting burrow right now, which he probably should be, getting a ling over there and burrowing in front of his natural is amazing for scouting information. It gives you so much info and helps you to kind of react to what Bishop is up to. He'll have to build a turret before he can place his CC, that sort of thing. Does he have
I'm a little
burrow?
worried for Sacsri.
Yeah.
I'm a little worried for Sacsri. He needs burrow. There's no way he didn't get burrow if he skipped over Hydra Den. Like, it's just not a question. Like, he has to have gone for burrow to be this confident in skipping over the den entirely. Vulture's running by as the Wraiths come in as well, trying to kill as many of those drones as possible. He hasn't yet tried to kill any of these overlords. Spire's not quite yet done. It's about to finish up, so he will lose at least 2 or 3 drones to that Vulture Wraith combo, and now an Overlord as well. Sacsri will take a lot of damage because he skipped over this Hydra Den. He's going to try and bank on the fact that he's got Mutalisks on the way, and he has got the burrow upgrade, which saves at least one of his drones. So like we were saying, there's no way he would have been this cocky and not gotten the burrow upgrade. He did actually get that, but he still lost quite a few drones.
Yeah, he lost so many drones there. It was a pretty slick move from Bishop to bring in the 2 vultures at the same time and just sacrifice them to get that extra damage done, get that extra DPS, and kill as many drones as possible, because he got a lot of kills there. And now Sacsri, I mean, he could try to come across the map, but the real problem here is that control tower can get added at any time. It could have been added already, and then he would have Cloak here pretty soon. If you fly all the way across the map and then Cloak comes online, you lose every muta and then you lose the game. So sitting back at home, a little bit more defensive, a little bit of a better choice here for Sacsri right now, so he can re-drone a bit and try to win this in the later parts of this mid-game, rather than just go for an immediate counterattack.
Right, yeah, I mean, there's 2 schools of thoughts. You can either rush the control tower to get the cloak as early as possible to surprise the Zerg opponent, or, you know, you can quickly get up to about 6 or so Wraiths with that double production and then get the control tower as an afterthought. Either way, it's a strong play for Terran. He's going to have a massive fleet of Wraiths to utilize, but they are essentially paper tigers, so if Sacsri can protect his overlords and keep them close enough to the flock of Mutalisks to fight this back, he still has a fighting chance. But I would say with that many drone kills, Bishop looking okay thus far in this game. Sacsri will have a hard time to add on drones as well as non-stop Mutalisk production to make sure that Bishop can't just swing in with these Wraiths and kill everything.
Was there an armory as well? Did we see an armory in that main? I feel like I did see one. It's possible he makes some Valkyries here as well. It's not really common to make Valkyries in a situation like this, but you can do it. It's just most of the time players will just stick with Wraiths and either go to a natural and then make a transition, or they're going to make a ton of barracks and follow up with a Marine plus Wraith attack. And look at this. Bishop going to split off 1 Wraith. That's a sacrificial Wraith. It flies in. It's going to check the build and get all the information it can back at home making Valkyries.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. I mean, this is a really nice tactical play from Bishop. Sacsri is going to be heavily committed into making non-stop air units, and so will Bishop. So we've got a total, battle for the skies from both sides, and neither player can really transition from it, given the current game state. We'll have to see if Sacsri can find some connections onto those Valkyries with the Scourge. That's going to be the ticket here. If he can somehow snipe these first 2 Valkyries of Scourge, Sacsri's in a great position. If he can't, Bishop is probably going to destroy him here.
I think it would be quite smart to kind of sit at the periphery, fight with the Wraiths until all the Scourge have been spent and killed, and then fly in with the Valkyries for the final push. We'll see if he does that, though. I see so many times Terrans just kind of falter with this Valkyrie play. Once you get too many groups of units that are very hard to control, like Wraiths and Valkyries, it's so hard to keep them both active and keep everything alive. But he's doing exactly what I was talking about. Getting in here. Now he's going to bring forward the Valkyries. Got to be careful with them. Don't let the Valkyries run too far forward, but he gets some great splash damage on those mutas, and he keeps the Valkyries alive. So far, so good. Coming forward again here. The Valkyries will just die, and with the Valkyries going down so quickly, this is actually okay for Sacsri, although enough damage has gone down. Maybe he can just win with the straight-up Wraith control.
Man, those Gemini missiles are absolutely ravaging those Mutalisks. The Valkyries softened up enough of those mutas to make their job easy. GG is called, and Bishop with a very convincing 3-1 victory over our macro Zerg Sacsri. We expected Bishop to win, but not quite in that fashion. Unfortunately for Sacsri, getting his main race in at least 2 of those games paid dividends. We're not going to see a final game out of these 2 guys, and it will be Bishop facing off against Rush. That's going to be so interesting, because I think both of those guys are pretty phenomenal Terran versus Terran players as well, in case he does random that Terran race. And like I say, against random, Terran is great. You can go for bunker expand every single game, so we might be seeing that a lot out of Rush, just going for that Rax FE each time and just kind of hedging his bets and trying to play as cookie cutter as possible. We could be seeing a really crazy good series when it comes time to it.
Yeah, that's a good point, that he's going to be able to play a little bit more safe and have that cookie cutter build where no matter what Bishop does, he can hit that build and still be okay until he finds out what race it is, and then he can make the necessary change-ups. I'm really curious if we see, Zerg versus Terran or Protoss versus Terran, if Bishop is able to really punish Rush because he knows Terran so well. Will he be able to get in there and make Rush's life hard because he knows that race and that matchup so well, being a Terran player? It's going to be very interesting. A little bit sad for Sacsri here that he got kind of unlucky. Yes, 2 of those 3 wins are from Bishop's main race, and Sacsri goes home a little bit sad here, being knocked out in the round of 16, but I'm not at all worried. We've got a great lineup for the round of 8, guys. I'm going to pull it up onto screen now. We can take a look. It is going to be an absolute banger. Let's go ahead.
Yeah, I'm super looking forward to it, man. Look at some of those games. Okay, Snow versus Royal. That's going to be really epic. Action versus Hero, a great ZVZ as well. Then Best versus Barracks. I feel like Best is going to rearrange Barracks into an academy so we can build some medics to reattach his arms after this Ape Protoss has dealt with him. But we'll have to wait and see. And then Rush versus Bishop as our final conclusion to that round of 8. I think that's going to be an epic series. If Bishop does get Terran, I actually think Rush is going to be taking those games down. Rush is a better TVT player than Bishop overall. So in a way, I think Bishop's going to be hoping to get Protoss and Zerg a few times in that series to get one over Rush for sure. But all of these matchups will be pretty entertaining to watch, to say the least, Sam.
Yeah, I'm very curious how Snow versus Royal will go. You'd think that Snow would just rip him apart, and that might be the case. He's been on such a tear lately, but Royal is kind of a dark horse. This guy is very scary in things like the Soup Duel series. We've seen him take on so many great Protoss players, and he was able to put up great fights against Best in that series, and I'm curious to see how he'll go or how he'll do against Snow there. And then, of course, that's ZVZ. We rarely get to cast ZVZ together, Xun, and this is one of the best ZVZs you could hope for. Action versus Hero best of 7? My goodness. We've seen some great ZVZs between these two in the ASL, but they were very short, like best of 3 at the most.
Yeah, we're going to be connected by the overmind in casting that. It's going to be great. We rarely get to cast those ZVZs, so we're probably a bit more excited about that than some of you guys are. But let me assure you, Action versus Hero will be an absolute banger of a mirror matchup. Please don't sleep on it, guys. I do think you should check that out, even if you're not a big fan of Zerg versus Zerg. Like in the BSL, for example, there's a lot of Protoss versus Protoss matches in Bonif versus Duo, and you think, oh, it's a mirror matchup, it's going to be super boring, PvP's boring, and then you actually watch this series and you're blown away by it, by how crazy the games actually are. And that can be the case for a lot of these mirror matchups. Generally speaking, yes, it can be a little bit on the boring side, but when you've got these kinds of players playing it, not quite so. So please don't miss that action. Next game will be that Snow versus Royal matchup. That's going to be a banger. Although Royal is a bit of a hit and miss kind of character in Terran versus Protoss. It's his weakest matchup, and sometimes he seems to falter a lot, and other times he seems to show up and play some championship tier games. We'll have to wait and see which version of Royal we get. My money would still be on Snow.
Well, that's going to be it for us today here at the SCSL. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Shout out to the supporters on Patreon. Check the link in the description. We love you guys, and we will see you for that next match, Snow versus Royal, in the round of 8.